We're going to begin with a huge trade in the WNBA. Breaking news here on SportsCenter. Angel Reese is on the move. The WNBA star traded today from Chicago to Atlanta for 2 first-round picks. Reese has led the league in rebounds in each of her 2
Who's the best player in the country?
So the media or me?
As you see it.
I feel like I'm the best player in the country.
Okay.
The sympathy vanished overnight. After just one transaction, Angel Reese was no longer shielded by a faltering Chicago. Sky's story to being a contender for the Atlanta Dream, however, the trick is that no one is speaking loudly enough. What happens if this action exposes her instead of elevating her? Because when expectations increase this quickly, the game discloses everything rather than merely changing.
Oh, man, it's going down like Young Jock. This is crazy. The freaking free agency period, it just started. It just started today, and Angel Reese is already traded. Also, the WNBA is backlit. The WNBA is backlit already. We got things happening already. Boom, Angel Reese traded to the Atlanta Dream. Talk about a way to kick off free agency.
This is the portion that no one initially says aloud. When a team offers you several first-round selections, they are investing in more than simply your skill. They are placing bets on your character, your reliability, and your capacity to manage expectations that appear out of nowhere overnight.
Very, very happy for Angel Reese. The Chicago Sky have been awful. They won 13 games a couple of years ago, went 10-34 last year. I'm used to Angel Reese being in winning situations. 14 points, 12 rebounds a game. She's a glue piece. She's somebody that's very, very capable. And Atlanta is coming off a really, really good season. They went 30-14 last year. You know, lost in the first round, but they still played, and they're still competitive. So to be willing to give up a couple of first-round picks for the services of Angel Reese.
Because of this, Stephen A. Smith's response initially seemed joyous but subtly alluded to something deeper, the fact that Angel Reese is no longer acting in a scenario, which is practically inevitable, where it is possible to justify losing.
They think that she can be valuable for them. It's going to put her in a winning situation. Her personality is just vibrant where, you know, the Atlanta community will magnetize themselves towards her. I like the situation for Angel Reese personally. I'm very, very happy for her.
I love this too. This trade is probably good for Chicago. I know Angel Reese, I don't know that she was ever truly happy there, so I hope that she finds some happiness and they win a lot of games for her there.
Very, very cold there.
In Atlanta.
Very, very cold there.
Stop it.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, the outfits that she likes to rock and all that stuff.
That's true.
You can't rock that in Chicago.
In many respects, Stephen A. Smith was correct when he portrayed it as a victory because Chicago had been moving in a direction that made development felt more like survival than development. Additionally, a player who averages a double-double ought to have significant basketball, not merely the amassing of statistics during meaningless games. He cited Atlanta's 30-win campaign as evidence that this is a cohesive, competitive, and purposeful team that instantly increases the stakes for everybody entering that room for lockers.
I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. You know, no matter which way it goes, you know, she should never be criticized for what she did. I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of her.
But there is an unseen contract attached to what appears to be a new beginning, since Atlanta isn't inquiring. They are asking Angel Reese to help them find things out gradually while the squad rebuilds to winning basketball right away, and that's when the conversation starts to change in tone. From anticipation to assessment. At Chicago, inefficiencies might be mitigated and inconsistency could be concealed by team issues. By rebounding numbers and effort, however, in Atlanta, each possession will be evaluated in relation to winning or losing, which entails discussing and even criticizing her decision-making, flexibility, and offensive limitations. As Reese moves into a better basketball scenario, the irony is nearly too perfect to miss. From the beginning, Caitlin Clark has had to cope with the strain of expectations. Fulfilling both performance requirements and media attention in a manner that very few athletes have ever encountered at such a young age. The roles are now starting to blur. And all of a sudden, Reese is facing the same pressure, but with less room for error.
News broke. Reese, she posted a picture on her Instagram wearing an Atlanta jersey with the caption, "An Angel's Dream, ATL."
Oh, I love it.
What up? The Dream also trading for one of the WNBA's most dominant rebounders in history. Within a player's first 2 seasons, she set league records for the most rebounds at 446, rebounds per game at just under 13 a game, and double-doubles at 49 within her first 2 seasons in the W.
And that's where the real narrative starts, not in the specifics of the transaction or the draft selections traded, but in the transition from potential. To demonstrate, Reese undoubtedly adds enthusiasm, but Atlanta did not trade for personality alone. Visibility and a bond with supporters that many athletes find difficult to establish, they exchanged goods for manufacturing that. Converts into victories, which is a far more stringent metric than social media presence or highlights. Because of Reese's appeal, Stephen A. Smith's confidence regarding her cultural fit in Atlanta is not wrong. Fit in wonderfully with a city that values daring individuals and expressive athletes, more victories will draw greater attention. However, more attention also results in increased criticism, game breakdowns, and comparisons that she cannot be in charge. At this point, the story takes an almost awkward turn due to an increasing emotion. That this action will reveal aspects of her game that have been shielded by circumstance rather than improved, particularly among critics. By necessity.
It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me.
This trade becomes a brilliant move if Reese can adjust to that, a time when potential finally corresponds with the opportunity, but if she can't, the same action that was hailed as a new beginning will soon be recast as an excessive investment. Beneath all the joy, there lies an uncomfortable truth. Because the league is evolving more quickly than most people anticipated, mostly due to the focus brought in by athletes like Caitlin Clark, and that change has elevated the bar for what it means to be regarded as elitist. Dominating one aspect of the game is no longer sufficient because the spotlight now requires consistency, adaptability, and efficiency at a level that hardly need floss. Angel Reese's fame has grown on emotional intensity, resilience, and toughness. They are all seasoned performers. With each rebound, every wasted opportunity and defensive error will be taken more seriously than they were in Chicago. At this point, the narrative returns to Stephen A. Smith because his faith in Reese's circumstances indicates a conviction in her capacity to rise to the challenge, but it also establishes a benchmark by which she will now be evaluated. If she is successful, this will be a pivotal stage in her career where she demonstrates that she has the ability to win basketball at a high level.
Talk about a way to get things started. I told you guys that the Chicago Sky were done with Angel Reese. I told y'all the GM wanted nothing to do with her. Okay, I told you guys he was moving her. I told you guys she could be moved by the draft. I literally told you guys this. Okay, and look, take a look at the. Hold on, man. I don't play. Look at this. I put this up. The title says it's over. Angel Reese is done in Chicago. Looking to trade her immediately. I put that up 4 days ago. I've been telling y'all the GM was done with this girl and he was moving on. I told you guys.
And it leads us to the most intriguing aspect of the whole circumstance, which is not the actual trade, but the moment, because every significant decision has greater significance at a time when the WNBA is receiving increased attention, repercussions, and each player entering the limelight does so in circumstances that did not exist. Even a couple of seasons prior, Angel Reese is no longer merely a talented athlete figuring out where she fits in the league. She is now a part of a broader discussion regarding the appearance and performance of the next generation of stars, and how they manage the strain of unheard of visibility. And as it happens, visibility is both a test and a gift, and extra eyes can improve a player's surroundings and demonstrate how her skill can affect winning. At the greatest possible level, however, it is also something quite different. Potential and expectation collide at this very instant, where pressure and personality collide, and where the discussion moves from what she might be to what, in fact, she is. In actuality, no one quite knows how that story will conclude just yet, because despite all the anticipation, despite all the study and responses, one thing remains unanswered: no trade. No commentary or statistic can provide an answer beforehand.
Look at this, fam. I saw this. I said, nah, man, hold on, man. Hold on, man. April Fool's was 5 days ago, fam. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? The Atlanta Dream gave them their first. I mean, I'm still trying to make sense of it because you had Bree Jones and you had Brittany Griner. Now, the only reason you do something like this is if you are getting rid of Brittany Griner and Bree Jones. If you're getting rid of them, then, I mean, I guess this makes...
What happens when the spotlight becomes a necessity rather than an option? Because as soon as that spotlight inevitable, it doesn't just follow you onto the court, it begins to influence how each and every moment is seen. At that point, this circumstance subtly transforms into something far more significant than a mere characteristic. In actuality, Angel Reese is entering a setting where success is anticipated rather than welcomed as a surprise, and that modifies the definition of success. Measured in ways that, if you're not prepared for them, might seem nearly unjust. A fantastic show in Chicago could have been viewed as a positive aspect of a challenging season. However, the identical performance in Atlanta will be evaluated using a far more stringent criterion. Did it truly contribute to a victory? And that change seems modest until you see how easily a player's reputation may be redefined, because numbers are no longer permitted in a winning system to exist in isolation, and the story can no longer be carried by effort alone. Every rebound has to result in something productive, every asset needs to have a function, and every vulnerability is made easier to identify when surrounded by framework and standards. At this point, the discussion over Angel Reese gets even more intense. Because her shortcomings have frequently been discussed in private, but her talents have always been evident. Almost courteously, as though they were waiting for the ideal opportunity to become inevitable, and it could be right now.